Dodgers looking for a walk-off win, facing an old friend in Craig Kimbrell. Swings at the first pitch, unloads down the line, grand slam, only needed one, he'll take them all.
Max Muncy began this season on a mission. With this walk-off grand slam on May 3rd, he became the first player to reach 12 home runs in 2023. This bodes well for the rest of Muncy's season, as the 5 players in previous seasons who were the first to reach 12 home runs all placed top 3 in MVP voting, with the exception of Acuna, whose season was cut short due to injury. Now, Muncy was the only player to hit at least 35 home runs in every season between 2018 and 2021, excluding 2020 where that was impossible. Still, an MVP caliber season may be asking for too much, especially when considering how historically weird this hot streak has been. If the season ended today, he'd be the only player ever to end a season with a batting average under 230 and an OPS over 900. Of course, a 900 OPS is borderline MVP level, but this abnormal stat line seems unsustainable. Although plenty of abnormalities occur when the sample size is small enough.
Max Muncy's breakout game, and it comes in San Francisco yet again.
And that's a big old welcome to the bigs.
This is Aristides Aquino, a 24-year-old outfielder who was ranked by MLB.com as the Reds' 13th top prospect in 2018. On August 19th of that season, he made his big league debut, but he struck out in his only plate appearance and was sent back to Double-A less than a week later. It took an entire year for Aquino to get back to the big leagues, but when he did, he made it clear that sending him back down was not an option. On August 3rd, 2019, he hit his first big league home run, the beginning of a historic streak. Aquino became the first player in modern MLB history to hit 10 home runs in the first 16 games of a career, ultimately ending the year with 19 home runs in 56 games. Unfortunately, Aquino has never replicated this dominance since, leading to his release after the 2022 season. That same year in the Bronx, Matt Carpenter recorded a mind-boggling 1,400 OPS and 13 home runs in just 30 games after signing with the Yankees. In Yankees history, only 7 players have had this stat combination in a 30-game span, a list featuring Hall of Famers and MVPs. At a time when Aaron Judge was in the middle of a record-breaking season, Carpenter shared the same spotlight. Unfortunately, Carpenter suffered a season-ending injury in early August, and by that time, he had been regressing back to career norms. The random nature of extreme hot and cold streaks are part of the baseball experience. But in the past year, Dodgers fans have experienced both with Max Muncy.
Muncy straightens this one out, deep right center field, gone!
Made some major adjustments in his swing, trying to flatten it out a little bit.
On August 9th, 2022, coincidentally the day after Carpenter's injury, Max Muncy hit his 3rd home run in 6 games and raised his season OPS nearly 30 points in this 6-game span. Although his season OPS was at 665, and the home run Muncy hit was his 12th of the season, a number that took 89 games to reach in 2022, but only 28 games in 2023. In fact, Oakland A's prospect Max Muncy was the first Max Muncy to reach 12 home runs in 2022. Yes, there are 2 Max Muncys in professional baseball, and they were both born on August 25th. Funny enough, the Dodgers' Max Muncy was also drafted by the A's, but he was released in 2016 after posting similar numbers to his 2022 first half. But with multiple 30-plus home run seasons under his belt, the Dodgers weren't just going to release him. Plus, he was still suffering lingering effects of a torn UCL from the final game of the 2021 season. He tried to rush through the rehab process ahead of the 2022 season, but all that did was create lingering discomfort. The elbow was a huge issue. It didn't move how I wanted it to move. It wasn't cooperating. And when it got healthy, it wasn't moving right because of all the bad habits I created while trying to get healthy. The frustrating aspect of this slump was Muncy knew what was wrong mechanically, but the progress he made in batting practice wasn't translating to games, as he'd revert back to what was comfortable rather than what was correct. Manager Dave Roberts said how these sorts of struggles puts a player on an island filled with the anxiety and pressure of trying to figure out how to recoup a potentially lost season. Muncy described how he got to the point where he was willing to try anything, no matter how radical it seemed. A spot Muncy describes as not a good place to be in, especially in terms of mental health. But then, in a series against the Rockies at the end of July, Muncy and Dodgers coaches found the inspiration they were seeking. But it was from a player who now lived nearly 1,000 miles away from Denver.
The 1-0. Arenado hits it out, dig deep left. How about number 30? You bet! And what a time to do it. Redbirds on top.
Nolan Arenado was already in his second season as a Cardinal, but he possesses a particular quirk in his batting stance that Muncy and the Dodgers decided to replicate, and it worked. When Arenado swings, he takes a small step with his back leg, which according to Dodgers hitting coach Robert Van Scoyoc is part of a hitting drill batters use as a way to focus on keeping their hips in line with their swing. In 2014, Arenado had not made this addition to his swing yet, as you can see with his stationary back foot. Fast forward to 2019, and you can see him take a half step with his back foot before he loads up his swing, and he's continued to do so ever since. In fact, since he made this adjustment in 2015, he's become one of the best home run hitters in baseball, with Arenado himself acknowledging this adjustment as the catalyst for his home run power. When Muncy began using this during batting practice, coaches said his body was in perfect position every time. Prior to the change, you can see how Muncy's back foot doesn't move until he swings. After applying the adjustment, you can see his back foot move slightly before he starts his swing. This was Muncy's first hit using this new stance, a hard-struck low line drive single, a type of hit Muncy said he hadn't hit much of at that point in 2022. Following this series against the Rockies, a hot streak ensued, and it completely changed Muncy's season. His hard hit rate and barrel rate both rose significantly, as well as his OPS and WRC+, with his WRC+ in particular surging from 18% below league average to 38% above league average. His overall season stats weren't pretty, but it could have been far worse if he never applied this adjustment. So now we're in 2023, where Muncy has built upon his late 2022 production. However, a big difference this year is the career high fly ball rate and career low line drive rate, which has resulted in a very extreme stat line. Muncy is one of the league leaders in home runs, but what separates him from the rest of this group is the lack of non-home run hits, which is why his batting average is so low. Plus, he's both striking out and walking at career high rates, resulting in a stat line that resembles an extreme 3 true outcome hitter, which is a type of hitter whose at-bats result in a home run, walk, or strikeout more often than not. The league average 3 true outcome percentage is currently around 34%, but Muncy's rate is much higher, and the only players with similar rates are Matt Olson and Patrick Wisdom. However, Muncy walks more and strikes out less than both of them. Overall, it's near impossible to gauge where Muncy's season ends up because there's almost no precedent for how he has started this season. Among the 41 players since 2000 who hit at least 12 home runs in their first 30 games, Muncy was the only player to hit 1 double, and one of only 3 players with less than 10 singles. Now, I got nothing against Muncy, but I don't see him competing with Barry Bonds for one of the greatest seasons in baseball history. I don't know, just a hunch. So that leaves Dodger teammate Will Smith. The problem with this comparison is Smith only played 54 games in 2019, and like Matt Carpenter, his numbers fell drastically after the 30th game. Fortunately for Dodgers fans, this didn't affect Smith's future seasons, as he's turned into a top 3 catcher in baseball. But at the same time, he hasn't had this sort of power streak since. Although someone else in Dodgers history who displayed this type of power in a short amount of time is Cody Bellinger. Muncy and Bellinger are one of only 4 players in team history to hit at least 10 home runs in a 13-game span. Bellinger's 2017 season isn't a bad prediction for where Muncy's season may end up, but what deters me from calling this an accurate prediction is how Bellinger didn't walk as much as Muncy. He hit base hits instead. Perhaps in order to find an accurate prediction of where Muncy's season may end up, we shouldn't be searching for comparisons solely through home runs. How about this? Let's find all the players between 2000 and 2023 to have an average of 230 or less and an OPS of at least 1,000 in their first 30 games of a season. Well, Muncy is the only player who qualifies. Okay, new plan. Instead of finding someone who's begun a season like Muncy, what if we find someone who ended their season in a manner that Muncy could reasonably emulate? With both his past seasons and 2023 production in mind, I predict Muncy ends this season with an average under 240, along with less than 25 doubles and over 35 home runs. A stat line that's close to Muncy's career averages, but very different from his 3 best seasons with the Dodgers. Nonetheless, this is a stat line that's only been produced 23 times in MLB history, ranging from Dave Kingman in the 1970s to Joey Gallo in the 2010s, and most recently with Rowdy Tellez and Kyle Schwarber in 2022. With this entire list in mind, I think Muncy ends with a stat line somewhere between 2006 and 2008 Adam Dunn, or even someone like 2009 Carlos Pena, someone who's among the league leaders in home runs and walks, strikes out a fair bit, and has a low batting average due to the lack of non-home run hits. Now, yes, it's important to remember with Muncy's stats, these are still small sample sizes, but that doesn't mean we can't appreciate the abnormal nature of this hot start, especially one that follows a 2022 season filled with so many highs and lows. When I talked about Kyle Schwarber's 2022 season a little while ago, I called it historically weird due to the fact he was performing as the most extreme version of his player archetype. Muncy has started the 2023 season in the same way. The thing is, I don't think Muncy is necessarily due for a decline like Carpenter was in 2022. Rather, he's due for a return to normalcy as some of these home runs may become singles or doubles instead. But he could also continue on the path he's been on and end the year with a historically weird stat line. No matter what happens next, I'm sure Dodgers fans are happy to see Muncy transcend the longest slump of his career and come out the other side as the premier power hitter he's always been. As for Muncy himself, he started the season on a mission to prove his worth following a bad season. And so far, even with all the abnormalities, he's proving the doubters wrong. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Leave a like if you did, and subscribe for more content just like this. Thanks for watching.